Recently, I did a video on Pat McGrath's concealer, and Boomer Washington asked me if I had an HG, and I had to admit, I don't. I go through periods, I think like all of us do, where I'm wearing a certain concealer and then something changes, or something new comes along, and I kind of move forward. But I'm not moving forward because I found something that's better, necessarily, just different. And this made me think, maybe I should go through all of my concealers and do wear tests for each one. So I'll tell you little details about them, you'll see me put them on, I'll come back an hour later and we'll see what's going on. The reason I'm doing it an hour later is because honestly, I can tell within an hour if it's going to work for me, because if it falls apart, it usually falls apart pretty fast. After shooting several videos, maybe 3 or 4, I thought, you know what? This is going to be a long video. This could be an hour long. So I'm just going to do a series, and I'll do 3 or 4 in each series. The goal is the video should be under 20 minutes and really get into as much detail as I can to help you make decisions about what might work for you. So this one's my first. It's going to be First Aid Beauty Bendy Avocado. It's going to be Giorgio Armani Power Fabric, and it's going to be Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion. Now let's talk about my issues. I am crepey under my eyes. I'm creping on the lids too. I have a deep trough and I'm puffy. So a lot of the darkness isn't actually darkness of my skin. It's like shadows from the puffiness. But I also have darkness as well. I've got a lot going on here, and I'm not sure something can hit all of those things. I'm not sure it's even possible. There may not be a holy grail for me, there may not be a 10, and I might have to live with good enough. But I have a lot of concealers for a reason. I like to believe there is. This is so great on me, this is perfect on me out there. So come join me on my journey and let's take a look at these 3. Today we're going to do the Bendy Avocado. But wait, the name is longer than that. It is First Aid Beauty Hello Fab Bendy Avocado. There might even be more after that. It is 0.17 ounce and $22. Pretty good deal. I got the shades 2 and 4, and this is what they look like swatched. The 2 is a little too light for me, and the 4 is a little too dark, but it has a peachy undertone, and I like the idea of getting something a little too light and a little too dark so I can make a mix every time I do this. The claims are that it is a flexible second skin concealer with buildable weightless coverage, and it's full coverage. Highlighted ingredients are avocado oil, which is moisturizing, tremella, which is hydrating. It holds more water than hyaluronic acid, and caffeine, which is good for darkness and puffiness. So first I'm applying the peach tone, and this will counteract the darkness and the blueness. And now I'm just adding the lighter shade because that peach shade is just too dark for me, and I'm trying to get those darker areas as well and blend it all in. I want to cover my lids. There's a lot of redness there. On the outside of my lids I have some darkness I want to cover, but I'm trying my best not to bring that lighter color onto the puffiness. The puffiness protrudes and you don't want to add lightness to that to emphasize that. And then this is a little trick if you have some crepies under your eyes. If you're looking down or straight ahead when you're blending in, those crepies kind of fold upon each other. If you look up, it kind of stretches that area out. I feel that it's a solid medium when you apply a lot. So I did the first layer that you saw, and then I added just a little bit more to even out that orangey color. I still think the color might be a little bit off, but this is what it is. Well, my eyes are different from side to side. I decided because I don't want to do 2 days on this, I'm just going to powder one side, and we'll see how it wears. And a little trough action. I'm using very, very little powder. Usually if something doesn't wear well on me, I don't need it all day long. It takes just a couple of hours, honestly. Usually an hour before I can tell. All right, it's about an hour later and the sun is out, where earlier it was pretty dark and cloudy, so the light has changed just a little bit. I hope it's not too distracting for you. I think the color I managed to work out okay, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to see what is going on. And I brought my friend, the 13X. The side that I powdered seems to be a little bit more flat, so I'm not showing as many crinkles than on this side. I can't say that it's actually settling in when I pull this down or over. It's almost as if it didn't go into those areas. And this eye has a lot more going on than this eye, but I did get settling in the trough. Let me move you in. So not even 5 minutes after I put this on, I had some troughing going on. That's what I'm going to call it from now on. I went ahead and added that lighter color because it was a little too peach, and at that time I worked on this trough area. Now, I powdered this. There's no troughing, but on this one, I wish I had a micro lens, you guys. It's totally troughing. So it needs a little bit of powder. It doesn't feel drying, and I don't think that it looks drying. Does it have full coverage? I'd say it's a solid medium, but it's comfortable. Medium coverage, better powdered than not powdered. There is some troughing. I'm not loving the way it looks on this eye, which wasn't powdered. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being perfect, I don't think we're ever going to get to 10. So 9 is like almost perfect, and 8 is, well, let's say 7 is pretty darn good. I'm going to say pretty darn good. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion Ultra Longwear. It's 0.25 ounces and $29. I have the shade 1N. This is the second time I bought this product. The shades are a little odd. The first one I got I thought would be perfect, ended up being quite dark, and it was a 2. And I find that these do oxidize as they dry down, and they oxidize when you powder them just a little bit. So going a little too light might not be a bad thing with this one. Let me tell you a little bit about the claims. They're saying it's a medium to full coverage weightless concealer that perfects and hydrates and blurs up to 12 hours. What else you need to know? It's a blend of flexible, long-wearing, emulsified polymers, and this allows for long wear, it's sweat resistant, it's water resistant, and blurring powders. I find this to be a teeny bit tacky. Let's go in. As with most concealers, I find less is more. The more you put on, the better chance of being cakey. So just a little bit. I'm just going to do the darkness on the sides and darkness on the ends. So where my puffiness is, I don't want to put something this light. And then I'll go in with the little beauty blender for a real good blend. I'm putting the smallest bit of powder on my brush. This is the by Terry, and I'm just going to do under this eye. And it has not troughed in those few minutes. And I think you can see that putting on just that slightest bit of powder has darkened this just a little bit. I find that's very common with concealers that have a little bit of tackiness. That tackiness is a wetness, I think, and when you put powder on something that's wet, it gets it darker. It's not terribly darker, but worth noting. I will move you in now. Bringing in my 13X friend. To me, it's relatively smooth, considering what's going on under my eyes. It did not settle in the trough in those few minutes. And the coverage, I'd say, is pretty good, especially considering I put so little on, where with the Bendy Avocado, I put quite a bit more, and I feel that I'm getting probably the same amount of coverage, with just a little bit. This eye, not very, it's not troughing, but it's beginning to show signs that it will. And it's not settling in lines. My lines are there, but when I stretch out, like so, you don't see the settling. I'll be back in an hour. It's been an hour since I first put this on, and let's take a look. I haven't cheated. I haven't taken a look myself, so let me grab my 13X. Wow. There's no creasing in the trough. None. I'm really impressed. And this isn't powdered. There's a little bit of creasing in the trough. This is the one that I have actually been using the most. Maybe I bought it in January, and you know, sometimes you look around thinking, well, there's got to be something better out there. Maybe there's not. Maybe this is it. I'm going to pull you in. Right here and here. There's a little bit in the trough there. But that is, seriously, that's not bad. There's nothing in the trough here. Furthermore, I haven't gotten that dried look where my creases are looking more prominent, and there's no creasing of the product in my creasing. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being just perfect, delightful, this is as close to a 10 that I can say, but 10 means perfection to me. And I think there's a little bit of fantasy for me, like perfection would mean I have no lines. I do have lines, I do have puffiness, I do have a deep trough. But I think this coverage is pretty solid. It's checking a lot of boxes for me. The coverage isn't bad, it's not creasing, and it's not making my creases and my crepiness look worse. It's pretty good, and people like it for a reason. Let's move on to the next. I'm back. Today we're going to do the Giorgio Armani Power Fabric in color 5. Now I used this for quite some time. It was what I used before I got the Laura Mercier, and it started to feel quite yellow on me, which is why I looked for a different concealer. Again, I'm just going to start with a little, blend it in with this brush. This is just my new thing. And I forgot to move you in again. That's what I do. Alright, so the color doesn't actually look all that yellow, which is nice. Maybe I take that back. So I try to keep it towards the darker and then thin it out as I go out, skip over the puffiness. I have to say my eyes look pretty dry today. I'm not sure why. I've been drinking water like a camel. And again, I'm going to lift this up. Might be a little yellow, and after I blend it in with the Beauty Blender, I don't feel like it's huge, great coverage. And man, I don't think it looks that great. It's like breaking up immediately. This is the color on the hand. On the hand, I think it looks pretty neutral. And let me give you a comparison. So in the middle is Giorgio Armani, and on either side is the Bendy Avocado. This is the lighter one, and this is the darker one, which has a peach undertone. So compared to this, I do think this looks more neutral. On my eyes, I feel like it looks a teeny bit yellow. And we're going to do a little powdering under one eye. So this is creased already on both sides. I want to add some right here. I'm getting this weird kind of indentation and extra darkness right there. Oh, I just improved my coverage too. That improved my coverage quite a bit. I'm going to try it on this eye. Troughing immediately. It's tough, you know, the more you add, the more you're going to crease, or in my case, trough. But the coverage now is suddenly really nice. The smallest amount of powder here. It doesn't look smooth under the eyes right off the bat. Maybe this will help it. I do think that darkened it. And I do feel like I might be dehydrated today. This is just daily life, right? We have days when everything looks a little more plump, and we have days when things are looking a little more crepey, and we have to put on makeup no matter what. So this will be the challenge for the Giorgio Armani Power Fabric. How's it do when you're feeling particularly kind of crepey? Be back in a little bit. All right, I am back with my trusty friend, the 13X, and let's get my little pointer brush. So this kind of went away at the trough, just moved, it left the building. But it's not shiny, it's not like it creased and there's an accumulation of foundation there. This is the powdered, and it looks 1,000 times better than the unpowdered. The unpowdered did accumulate that foundation there. So they both troughed. My eyes are not looking great today, you guys. I just remembered I did a laser a couple of days ago, the Tria laser, something at home. I did it all over my face. I have a little bit of peeling going on, and that's probably why the eyes look a little rough today. So part of me says, is this a fair test? And the other part of me says, well, yeah, this is real life, you know? Some days we're dehydrated, some days we don't get enough sleep, some days our under eyes are really looking tragic. And on those days, how are these going to perform? I'd say this one isn't performing incredibly well. I say if you don't have a lot of crepiness, a lot of fine lines, and if you don't have a trough, this is pretty solid. In fact, it's not even that bad around my fine lines and crepiness. It's just the trough. It's not a complete fail. The coverage initially wasn't fantastic, but I did add a little bit more. It built up fine. It didn't get a cakey look to it. So it's not bad. It's not bad. So that's my first group, you guys. We have the Bendy Avocado from First Aid Beauty. It's thinner and feels hydrating. It's very comfortable. Not a lot of colors. Then we have the Laura Mercier, which is a little more tacky versus creamy. It is also hydrating. The coverage is really good, and the color range is really good, but strange. It does oxidize. It gets darker, especially when you powder it. And the Giorgio Armani, which needs to be built for better coverage, but it builds really well. And when I say built for better coverage, I mean for my particular set of issues. I'm leaning towards the Flawless Fusion right now, out of this group anyway, for my needs. But it's not about my needs, it's really about your needs, and I'm just kind of showing you how it's working on me and my issues. I'd love to hear what you think of what you've seen and what your issues are and what works for you. Maybe I'll try them. Maybe I already own them. And it has occurred to me that there may not be a 10 for me. I have a lot of stuff going on here, and I may have to settle for good enough. Maybe there is no holy grail for me, but the pursuit will continue. So this is part 1, and soon we'll be having a part 2. I hope it was helpful to you. I hope you come back again. Stay safe and smart, and until we meet again, I'm wishing you good health.